It's time to tune into. It's time to get hungry for. Let's talk wrestling on the Spinning Heel Kick podcast. It's time to tune into. It's time to get hungry for. Let's talk wrestling on the Spinning Heel Kick podcast.
It's the Spinning Heel Kick podcast, and it's your host, as always, AJ, bringing you episode 24 of the podcast, and this is a very special podcast episode. As I've been mentioning the past couple of weeks, I wanted to start this, special edition segment called Breaking In, and Breaking In is all about, being able to talk to somebody who is literally breaking into the business as we speak. And my first guest of Breaking In is Kim Partida, who is from Big Time Wrestling. She's actually just training right now, and she's literally at the start of her career, doing the training, helping out the shows, doing all these different things to kind of start paying her dues. So I was able to sit back with her, talk, for about 10 minutes, and, I hope you guys enjoy the conversation that we had. And, you feel the emotions that she's going through right now and feel, the excitement, but kind of like worrisome of, what is the future going to look like for her in this business of professional wrestling. And then after that segment is done, we're just going to be jumping right into my conversation with the Spinning Heel Kick podcast guest for this week, who is Aspyn Rose. And Aspyn Rose is so awesome to talk to. We made a little jabs to the whole Little Mermaid stuff. And, she was so much fun to talk to and so knowledgeable. And the fact that she's a trainee of Jay Lethal, who I consider a top 10 pro wrestler in the world right now, if not top 5. That list is it's hard to put it together, but Jay Lethal is definitely top 10. And the fact that she was literally trained by him and he spent the time with her to put in this work in the ring, she has so much potential to become something great in the world of pro wrestling. And so does Kim Partida, too, as long as she stays hungry and motivated to become something special. Like, you really can become anything you want. The sky is the limit. And this is what I always tell people, whether it's at work or just, friends, like, you literally can become anything you want as long as you want to put in the work. And if you put in that work, you can become something special and you can live out your dreams. Aspyn Rose is on that path right now of living her dreams and wrestling, and I really think that she has the potential to be signed to a major promotion. It's all about being different, and she has that to her, and such a sweetheart too. Like, I always mention how blessed I am to be able to have guests on the show that's just so sweet and so nice to talk to, and I always end the conversation, thinking to myself, like, wow, I learned something new about this person, or I learned something new, about life in general. So, I'm thankful for everybody that joins me on the show. So we're going to jump into the podcast episode. Remember, the first 10 minutes is going to be with Kim Partida. I hope you guys enjoy that conversation, and we're just going to jump into Aspyn Rose. Keep supporting the podcast. You can find me on Twitter at SpinHeelKickPod, Instagram, The Spinning Heel Kick Podcast, and Facebook.com/Spinning Heel Kick Podcast. Enjoy this episode, and please, 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 let me know what you think about, the segment called Breaking In. I really, really wanted to be different from every other podcast, and this is just like a special segment that I'll be doing once in a while. It's not going to be every week, but once in a while we'll have this segment just to follow up with the wrestlers that we started with. So, please let me know what you guys think, and hopefully it's a success and you guys enjoy it. And I hope you guys enjoy my conversation with Aspyn Rose as well. So thank you to all the listeners out there, and I hope you guys have a good one and enjoy these conversations. And it's on. It's a very historic moment for the Spinning Heel Kick podcast. It's the first ever segment of Breaking In with AJ, and I have the very lovely Kim that is on the show with me today. How you doing, Kim?
Good. How are you, AJ?
I'm doing great. Like, we were just talking before we started recording is like, I really wanted to do something different with my podcast, add something that's never been done on different podcasts. And I came up with this crazy idea of like really wanting to follow the journey and be kind of like right behind you while you join this crazy world of pro wrestling. So, of course, this is a 3-part series, and the first part, like, we're going to talk about how you really wanted to get into wrestling. So, like, thank you for being, like, my kind of project, pretty much, and letting me take a chance with you.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, this is so exciting to do, and it's something that will be fun. So I'm excited to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, like you're starting from like the very bottom, right? Like I got this idea.
Right.
I got this idea from seeing you like a couple weeks ago at our local indie show over here at Big Time Wrestling out of Newark. And you're just doing your thing, like you're helping out with the show, and that's what independent wrestling is pretty much about. Like the folks that are training, the people that are wrestling, you help out with the shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do to give back or paying dues. So like, tell us about your like upbringing. Like, did you grow up in the Bay Area? Were you always like a wrestling fan since you were a little girl?
So yeah, I was born here. I'm raised in New York, California. I've always been a wrestling fan ever since I can remember. I just loved watching it, with my brother and my dad. It was just like a bonding time for us. So I've always been a huge fan of it. I've met so many superstars growing up as well. So it was awesome. I attended so many events as well. I loved the action. I just loved how great it was. It was just so awesome, and it's awesome to meet them as well. It just gives you like, oh my God, this is person on TV that you watch all the time. And it was just great. I always said I wanted to, start wrestling, but I just never knew when because I literally just played soccer all my life and I recently just stopped. So because I was like, okay, I don't want to just do nothing for now. And then it kind of all started with last seasons of Tough Enough for WWE. I auditioned, and I obviously didn't get chosen, sadly, but they featured me on their Instagram and Twitter. And then, I don't know, just that, like, seeing myself, like, dealing with, something to do with WWE was just like, oh my God, like, it was awesome. It probably is, like, the smallest thing and not even a big deal to people, but I thought it was just great, and it was, like, literally so awesome for me. And then that's when I was like, what, Big Time Wrestling is right here. I used to attend this shows when I was younger, so I knew about it all the time. So I was like, it's right here. Like, I'm just going to call Kirk. I'm going to give Kirk a call and see what's up. And I went, and I just really liked the environment. They're all so friendly, and that's when I decided to join in August.
So, yeah, that's like, you're super fresh into it. Like, growing up, who were some of your favorite wrestlers to watch?
Definitely my favorite diva of all time is Trish Stratus. I love her so much. Oh my God, I love her. I still go on YouTube just to watch her old matches because I just love her so much. And of course, Goldberg. He's my ultimate favorite.
Oh wow, Goldberg? Like I never hear anybody say Goldberg. That's awesome.
I love him. He's awesome. Oh my goodness.
I saw your Tough Enough videos, and I thought it was awesome how you were promoting yourself. I saw one video where you're just like carrying your dog, and you're doing like leadership with the dog. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, my dog is literally my baby, so I just want to incorporate him in it and just make it fun and cute,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's, I don't know, I was just being funny with it.
and like you mentioned something like with the WWE, kind of like acknowledging your video. Like the cool thing for me, like I was looking at your Instagram, and like you got that denial letter email from Triple H, right? Like we know it's like generic, but it's kind of cool to get a letter from Triple H. Like
yeah, it was super cool. Honestly, like I honestly was pretty bummed. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty sad. But it's just super cool. Like, Triple H is like, sincerely Triple H, from Triple H. It was just, I don't know. It, like I said, it might not be like nothing to someone, but to me that was just like, oh my God, they really acknowledged me, so you know what I mean? I don't know. I thought it was the coolest feeling ever.
No, I mean, for sure. Like, I think any wrestling fan would have that cool. Like, literally, like, if I got something like that, I'd be like, oh my God, Triple H took the time and just sat there and wrote me an email. Like, that's how I would have taken it.
Right?
So now you've been training at Big Time Wrestling for, since August. Like, how's the training been so far? Like, how you feeling on, do you guys train, like, once a week? Like, how many times are you training?
So we train, twice a week. Sometimes we train on weekends when our trainers are free, if they're not doing shows. So that's always cool. The trainers are super awesome. Like they're such great trainers. Everyone there is awesome as well. Like it's such a great environment. We literally are all a family. And I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was really hard for me to transition. Soccer was literally my sport like all my life. So it's such a different sport, and it was so hard for me to transition into wrestling. And, just like it was just so different for me, and it was really hard for me to just do the basic things. Honestly, like you can even ask, my trainers now, and they can let you know that it took me a while to get like the basic stuff done. But it's just with time and practice. Everything comes along. So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
And to think about it too, like, because I'm all about like positivity and thinking strength based, and like if you really think about it, I mean the Bella twins were soccer athletes, right? They're soccer players their whole life, and then now they're these huge stars. So you might be that next one.
I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to see, huh?
Exactly, and that's like I mentioned this a few times on many different episodes of the podcast. Is like I get like if I had John Cena on the podcast, yeah, it's awesome to do that. Have any WWE star or any like super top level indie star, but like for like folks like you guys who are just starting, like I get hyped over that because like we're talking right now, maybe 2 years from now we can look back and say, holy shit, like look how far we've come, So that's
exactly.
And that doing these type of interviews hype me up. So like to do these segments with you is really exciting for me because I can tell like even like I don't know you personally yet, right? But like seeing your Instagram and just kind of seeing how motivated you are to succeed, like that's huge. So like in your training right now, like have you faced a point as of right now, like thinking like, oh man, do I really want to do this like for the rest of my life? Do I really want to pursue this as a career, or has everything been going pretty smooth for you?
Well, I just want to say thank you for what you were saying. Thank you. That means so much to me. But on the topic of pursuing this, I'm not gonna lie, it does get pretty hard sometimes. You just get so frustrated with yourself. It's just not something that I've been used to all my life. So, it's just the transition that's hard for me. But, at times do get tough and you do get really frustrated. But I just feel like that's just something that people don't see. On TV, it just may look like the easiest, funnest thing. But then when you're in the ring, it's completely different. Like putting your body out there, it's just, it could get frustrating when, for example, if you can't do a move right, if you can't remember, what's next, I feel like that's where I struggle the most for right now. And it does get frustrating. It does get hard. You do, put yourself down, but you just need to remember, this is what, this is what I love doing. That's what I was telling myself. This is what I've always wanted to do this. Now that I'm doing it, like, there's no point in stopping now. There's no point in, turning back. Like, just, brush it off and keep going. That's just the way of thinking it.
Exactly.
My way of thinking it.
No, that's a perfect way of thinking it. And, like, you're in such good hands, too, at BTW. Like, obviously, like, there's quite a few folks out there that were on my show and, like, I have a good relationship with now, like Chemo, Victor, Tony, Beatrice, all those guys, man, who I have deep respect for. So you're definitely in good hands. Like, have you received any, like, very good advice that you kind of, like, took to heart?
Yeah, I'm so happy I have them as trainers, honestly. Like, I've heard about, I'm not going to say anything, but they're honestly such great trainers. They're such great people to start off with, it's just good to have like a good person that that it's like, they have a nice personality and they're not mean to begin with, or, especially for me because I was just like so scared to do stuff, and they were, really comforting, and, like they knew I had to take that time and space more than others. So I feel like I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that they understood where I was coming from. But they're so great. I would recommend them to, anyone that wants to start off, big time wrestling is a great place to start off.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, like, talent comes out of there. Obviously, like, Bailey's doing the big things right now. She's a top diva.
Right.
So, like, that, I mean, I would be motivated just based off that, thinking, like, hey, like, she made it out of BTW. Like, I can do it, too, and become this huge star.
Exactly, yeah. So, go Bailey. She's just so awesome right now. I'm so proud of her.
Super cool to see her make it huge. But it's going to be super cool to, like, be here side by side with you through your progress in pro wrestling. And one day we'll be sitting back watching you kill it on pay-per-view. But, we're coming down to the end of the first part of Breaking In with AJ. That's the name I'm giving the segment. Hopefully it, like, gets over. Where can fans kind of follow your progress on social media?
Oh, so my social media, I only have a Instagram, and a Snapchat, but I guess Instagram would be best. I do not have a Facebook. I do not have a Twitter. But yeah, to my fans or the people that are just interested, I'm always here if you need any questions, if you have any questions, or just anything. I'm very nice, and I'm not mean. If I look mean, I'm not mean. I'm very nice. I'm here. My Instagram name is kim.partida. That is kim.kartida. And I follow back.
Perfect. So thank you once again for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, AJ. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And we're on with the Spinning Heel Kick podcast. And always, I bring the best of the best of the best guest on my show. I found her. She was really hard to find. I had to go under the sea. It was the mermaid herself. I got my girl Aspyn Rose on the show. How you doing, Aspyn?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so glad we finally made this happen. I made you stay up a little late because of our time difference, but you're a trooper, and we made it happen.
We did.
So this week, I think it's been over a week now. The Powerball was the biggest thing going, and a lot of people were buying lotto tickets off the charts. The winner would get $1.2 billion. If you were to win that lotto ticket, what would you do with all that money?
Oh God. Let's see. I would probably just travel for wrestling. Like, not even gonna lie. I'd go back to PWG again because I went to Bola in 2014. I'd definitely go back again. I'd probably go to Progress in England. And I'd probably just take a road trip around the United States because traveling is like one of my favorite things I love to do.
Yeah, that's pretty great, but you could travel for the rest of your life pretty much with $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's perfect. How do you like that PWG experience, man? Because, I'm out here in the Bay Area. I'm 5 hours away from LA, and I have yet to go to a PWG show.
Oh my God! If I was 5 hours away, I would be making the drive to go.
I'm pretty disappointed in myself. I don't know how I live with myself every day with knowing this, but it is true, and I hope to make it happen within 2016. But how do you like? You went as a fan, right?
Yes, I did.
How was that experience? Because I know it's wild out there.
Oh God, it was crazy. So, one pro tip, if you're going to go to a PWG show, if it's in the summer, bring a lot of water. Oh my God, that American Legion Hall is terrible. It is so hot in there, they don't turn on the heat for anything. It was cooler to be outside than it was inside.
Oh, I believe it. That place just looks like it's just full of sweat. And,
it was
and
terrible. But other than that, it was one of the funnest weekends I've had.
Yeah, and the fact that you went for Bola, man, everybody comes out for that. All the superstars are out there, all the high-ranking indie talents. So, I hope. Did you go in 2015?
No, I didn't. I wanted to, but, just with wrestling and other things going on, I wasn't able to go.
Yeah, and hopefully I will have the experience of my lifetime when I get there. But let's get into it, man. Your love for pro wrestling, where did it begin?
I started watching wrestling in 2009.
2009?
No, it's crazy. Yeah, 2000.
A little bit crazy, but what? Cause, you think about it, right? That's 6 years ago, if anything, or 7 years ago, and from 7 years ago, we still have the main talents are still the face of the company. What was it in 2009 that got you interested in wrestling?
Well, my mom's boyfriend at the time was over on a Monday night, and he was a wrestling fan, so he put it on. And it was in the middle of the summer, right when Triple H and Randy Orton were having their big feud. And I think, the second or third time I watched it, it was when Triple H went to Randy's house. Yeah. After that, I was I thought it was absolutely crazy. But for the longest time, probably 5 or 6 months, I didn't even know anything else existed. I didn't even know SmackDown existed. I just thought there was Raw, and that was it. And then I don't even remember how I got into SmackDown. But I eventually found SmackDown, and then for 2 or 3 years, I only watched WWE because that was basically all I knew. And then my mom was a big fan of Jeff Hardy, so when everything started going around that he was going to TNA, that was when I started watching it.
Oh, okay.
And then I started watching Ring of Honor in 2012 when Steen and Generico were having their big feud.
And what a great time in Ring of Honor to catch that too, because Steen and Generico were killing it. Who are your favorite wrestlers during that time? I know you mentioned your mom's favorite was Jeff Hardy. What was some of your favorite wrestlers during that time?
Chris Jericho. He was my favorite, and he's still my favorite today.
How'd you feel about, I don't know if you watched Monday's show, but everybody was giving him a hard time about wearing the coat with no shirt under.
Me and my boyfriend gave him crap for it too, so we're in that party.
Yeah, no, fair. And he is the prime example of being able to, age within the business, but keeping himself relevant.
Yeah.
And I think that's such, a hard thing to do nowadays. And the fact that he has his own band and he's doing all these other things, but he comes back to wrestling, as relevant as he was before he left.
Yeah, for sure.
Were there any other favorites of yours other than Chris Jericho?
I liked CM Punk and Randy Orton. Those were probably my top 3 at the time.
Yeah, and all 3 were doing wonderful. How do you feel about, CM Punk, just abruptly leaving pretty much and now joining UFC?
I honestly don't even know because I'm waiting to judge until I see him actually fight. Because I know a lot of people have been saying he's not going to do good and all this stuff, but I'm waiting to see what he does first before I make any assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure they were saying the same thing about Brock Lesnar, and he went out and won the championship. So you just never know. But I swear to God, I'm a huge mark for CM Punk. Like the last 2 Royal Rumbles, my heart was sinking, thinking he was gonna pop up. I was like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. But hopefully we'll see him in a wrestling ring eventually. And like the business is, man, you just never know what could happen. So you go from being a wrestling fan starting 2009. How'd you just quickly, make the decision of, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to make this happen. I want to be a pro wrestler.
Well, when I graduated high school in 2013, I had originally was I'm going to go off to college and do that whole spiel. But then as I started thinking about it, I really enjoyed wrestling. That was something that, regardless of what was going on in my life, wrestling was always something I knew, I had. It was something that would always keep me happy. And I started looking around for a school, but where I was living, there wasn't any place for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So I was maybe this wrestling thing might have to wait till after college or something. And then Jay Lethal opened up a school about 30, 40 minutes away from my house. And that was when I knew, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. There's, this school just so happens to be opening down the street. I'm I have to go. This is what I need to be doing with my life.
And I'm sure you already knew who Jay Lethal was from watching TNA. And at that point, I'm sure he was already in Ring of Honor doing this thing. How was that knowing, wow, I'm about to go to Jay Lethal's, school and become this wrestler?
Oh, yeah, I felt extremely lucky because he's always, he's so entertaining, but he's also very technical, and I think he has a good mixture of both. And with my wrestling style and how I wrestle, I'm really a lot technical and mat-based moves. But he can still incorporate his character and he still has all that charisma without doing all the crazy flips and dives like everyone else does. And so when the chance to learn with him, I knew it was something I had to jump at, or it was going to pass me right by.
And was he directly involved in the training? Because I know a lot of the times wrestlers are promoted at, this is our training school, this wrestler runs it, but they don't in reality when the trainees go. Was Lethal directly involved?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think there was only one time when I went to a practice when he wasn't there, and that was because a last minute thing came up and like he couldn't get back in town or something happened with his flight or something. But like if Jay wasn't there, we didn't have training, and Jay was always there.
And that just shows the the personality that he has and the passion that he has for the business, because he wants to make sure this next crop of wrestlers come out the right way. And the fact that he's directly with you guys when he probably has this crazy schedule, like that shows, a lot from that guy. And, shout out to Jay Lethal, man.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Did you guys ever talk to him about his infamous promo with Ric Flair?
Oh, yeah, we've brought it up to him a couple times, and he'll do his whole Macho Man thing in the ring sometimes when we're training, and he'll do a lot of different impressions. And he's just a great person, and he has a great personality. And even though, like, he's our trainer and our teacher, like, all of us know we can still count on him as an actual friend.
Yeah,
and we know that once wrestling's done, or if we move somewhere else, we know that we're always going to have him there for us, supporting us.
Yeah, that's the greatest support system. How proud was it to watch him at Wrestle Kingdom?
Oh my gosh, I was so happy because I remember I stayed up and watched Wrestle Kingdom last year, and anytime we were at training and Jay had a question about what was going on in like either New Japan or any other indies over there, he always come over and ask me about it because I always try and keep myself immersed in as much wrestling as I can. So for the fact that he got to go over there and wrestle in Japan in the Tokyo Dome in front of all those people, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a great match too. He's come a long way from the beginning times of TNA, and that's cool that you got to train under him too, because that just paces you at the puts you in the right path of growing in this business. When it comes to training, like what was some of like the hard times of training? Like what did you ever have a point in your training where you're just like, man, I don't know if I can do this for the rest of my life?
I honestly, looking back, like I don't really think I had a moment where I thought I couldn't do it. Like if there was a move Jay was teaching us that day, if someone couldn't get it, and like he would just keep pushing them until they got it or until they got slightly better at it, and then the next training he'd always come back to it for them. Like he would never make us feel bad if we didn't get something, and I always appreciated that.
Yeah, and once again, that just goes back to great coaching. During your training, like we're in this revolution, like they call it, and they name it the Divas Revolution. I don't like that word Divas. I like to say pro. I like to refer everybody as a pro wrestler. If they're wrestling in the match, they're a pro wrestler, whether they're male or female.
Yeah.
But there's this revolution going on when it comes to women wrestlers, and I'm sure there's so much competition. How are you trying to make sure you're different from everybody else, from your in-ring style to your character?
Well, I mean, character-wise, I'm a mermaid.
I was about to say, that's pretty on point.
I think that's pretty original right there.
It is, and we're going to get into that. I want to talk about the character a little later, but when it comes to your in-ring, like, how did you make sure you were different from everybody?
Well, I know a lot of the craze right now is a lot of the high-flying, high-risk maneuvers. And it's slowly, there are people who are starting to bring in the more mat-based submission style. But when I first started training, and before I even got into training, like I thought, oh yeah, I want to do all the flippy things. I'm learn how to do like a 450 and moonsaults and all this stuff. But then once I actually started training, I knew that wasn't the best decision for me. And submission style matches are always something that draw me in. And I know a lot of people find them boring, but I can watch so many of those matches and not get bored of it. It's one of my favorites. And so I feel like with my personality and my charisma, but then when I get in the ring, I'm serious and I stick to what I know. And I just make people tap out, and I feel like that's what sets me apart from everyone else.
Yeah, I was watching your match with, it was on Shine with Aria Blake. And
yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic match. I thought you had a great, showing in that match. And the one thing that first stuck out in my mind was your submission holds, because you just don't see that in women's wrestling. So the fact that you're using that definitely puts you apart from everybody else, because the new thing is high flying. And I have this like love-hate thing for high flying. Like, I love seeing it, but like I feel like when it does happen, it happens too quickly and it gets sold way too quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that what hurts it a little bit. But for you to be able to use submissions as your moveset, I mean, that definitely sets you apart from everybody else. And you can, I think, eventually like use your submission in ring work as your gimmick of like later on. I think people will refer you to as the submission holder or something like that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. The mermaid. Let's jump into it. Why a mermaid?
Well, when I started putting my character together and everything, mermaids was always something I was kind of drawn to, and I'd always had, like, once I started training, I'd always had different colored hair. And having different colored hair is apparently associated with being mermaid. And so when I was trying to think of my character, that was just the first thing that popped in my head. And as soon as I thought of it, I knew I had to go with it, because there was no one else in wrestling that was going with anything like that. And, I mean, of course, being a wrestler, you need to be a good wrestler. But you got to have something that sets you apart from everyone else to have something that someone's going to remember you for. And I feel like right now, mermaids are a big hype for little girls and women right now. And so I feel like with what I have, I feel like people will remember me no matter what.
Yeah, and I find that to be very true too. Like, you are original when it comes to mermaids. I ain't never seen anybody use a mermaid gimmick. Nobody ever refers to themselves as a mermaid. And the colored hair, like, I mean, there's quite a few people that do it now, but like, I think the cool thing is, like, because do you switch back and forth from red to blue? I feel like I've seen you in both colors.
I've had pink, I've had green and purple, I've had silver, and I have blue right now.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool. If you just like, if it's something that you continuously do where you're switching up the colors, like, everybody's gonna always have an interest in you and seeing what you look like now, or what's your hairstyle looking like. Originally I was gonna ask, like, is The Little Mermaid your favorite movie?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love The Little Mermaid. I definitely enjoyed it when I was little. I mean, I don't know if it was one of my favorites, but...
Well, let's get to it. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, God. My favorite movie of all time. I'm gonna have to go with The Fifth Element.
No, that's a good one. Mine, go ahead.
That's one of my favorite movies, and I know, like, I feel like it is one of my favorite movies, because anytime I see it on the television, no matter how far along it is into the movie, I put it on. Even if there's 10 minutes left, I'll put it on. Like, I always choose it over everything else.
Yeah, when people ask me what my favorite movie is, I always give them the honest answer. They give me a funny look, they laugh at me, but I don't care, man. I'm honest about it. Finding Nemo is the greatest movie ever made.
That is a great movie.
Oh, man, isn't it? Like, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it makes you, like, angry. Like, it makes you feel every emotion possible.
It does.
I get super geeked over it. What would you say?
Well, I've always wanted you for it, because Nemo is a great movie.
Oh, yeah, and Finding Dory's coming out. I don't know how I feel about it. I didn't want a sequel, but, we'll see what happens. Now, we'll get back to wrestling. When did you find out you were going to have your first match? Like, how long into your first year of training?
It was probably, let's see, I started training in April of 2014, and I had my first match in January of 2015. So I think I found out that the match, like, that we were having the match probably a month or two before.
Oh, well, that's pretty good to have that.
Yeah.
Heads up. Usually, like, from what I've heard, it's like 3 hours beforehand or like a week.
Oh yeah, no. My school is in. We have our own like promotion that goes along with our school. And we run about every 2 to 3 months. So then after the show had happened in November, I want to say, that was when we were told that, hey, next show you guys are going to be having your first match. And that was January 31st. So yeah, my year in wrestling is coming up in 2 weeks.
Well, happy early anniversary. That's a huge deal.
I know, it's crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been a year at all.
Yeah, and I mean the fact, like, talking to you and being able to watch your match with Aria Blake that I saw earlier today is like I would have never guessed that you've only been at this for a year. Like early in your career, of course, but like not just basically almost just exactly a year. So it's crazy to see that, and I think it just shows how committed you are to this. Who was your first match with, and how did you feel it went?
My first match, it was a student battle royal that we had on our show. So it was me and was the 7 or 8 other people I had trained with. And I felt like originally our match was just going to be like a pre-show thing for the people who had already bought tickets. And the guy who owns the promotion's called Uproar Pro Wrestling, and it runs in Newport Richie. The guy that owns it, like, had come to our training here and there after we had found out that we were going to be having it. And so, but going into that day, we all thought that the match was going to be a pre-show. And then after we're setting up the ring and putting everything together, we got told that our match was going to be like the 6th match. So it was like the first match after intermission.
Oh, okay.
And so, knowing that he felt that confident about us to put us on the main show, I think made all of us feel a whole lot better about it. And I remember getting asked by one of the guys backstage if I was nervous at all. And I said I wasn't. And they had told me, well, that's when you know you're doing the right thing, because if it's something you love, you won't be nervous doing it.
Exactly. And that's a great point, because, like, in your mind, it's like, I know I'm made for this, so why be nervous?
Yes.
That's awesome, and that confidence is gonna take you long ways. In this year, do you have a favorite match that you've had so far?
I'd probably either have to say I've got 2. I did a match with Jessica Havoc for Queens of Combat 5 in North Carolina. I basically got killed, but getting the opportunity for that match was pretty amazing because I wasn't on the card at all. I just happened to be there and was helping set up or whatever. And I was talking to Sojo Bull, and she was asking me about my training and how long I've been doing everything and whatnot. And she immediately took a liking to me and was like, hey, we're going to put you on the show. And so, like, and that was only my second match. And to be put on a stage like that with so many other great women's wrestlers, some of my friends, some of the girls that I look up to, was a pretty great opportunity. And then my other favorite match would be, I did a mixed tag match a few months ago for a company called CW in Port St. Lucie. And it was me and Rex Backus versus Ace Andrews and Sue Young. And Sue is someone that I've been friends with even before I started training, because I would go to Shine all the time in Tampa, and we had just become friends through that. And getting to have a match with her was almost a dream come true, because she's basically been like my older sister since I started wrestling, giving me advice and helping me out. And I felt like we put on a really good match, and we really killed it out there.
Yeah, and shout out to Sue Young too. Like when I was, I had mentioned to you before we started recording, is I was writing articles for a sports website. I actually interviewed Sue, and I created an article for her based off her career. And man, one of the nicest people I've ever spoke to in my life, outside of wrestling and wrestling. She's just the sweetest person in the world, and what a great talent too. Like she's so well known, and you would never guess like that she's so well known and the celebrity status in wrestling when you talk to her, because she's, you talk to her and she's like a normal person.
Mm-hmm. I love Sue. She's one of my favorite people.
That's really cool to, for you to get that experience, especially in Shine. Shine is considered like one of the best promotions, in general, not just when it comes to females or male wrestlings. So, I mean, to be able to get that exposure and work Jessica Havoc from all of, anybody, like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to wrestling, obviously you got to keep training, you got to stay tough, stay in a good, healthy, fit, all of that good stuff. What are you doing in your day-to-day, life to stay, fit? What are you doing in your training regimen to stay on top of your game?
Well, right now I haven't been able to train or work out too much because I broke my collarbone back in October. And so I haven't been able to train that much, and I kind of had to slow down on the gym and things like that. And it's getting better now, and I should be coming back in a couple weeks. I'll be getting checked out soon. But it's been driving me crazy not being able to wrestle, because like I'll go to training or I'll go watch my boyfriend's training, and just sitting there and watching other people in the ring getting to do what I love and me having to sit ringside and not be able to do anything, it kills me. But I'll definitely be back and better and taking 2016 by storm.
Do you feel like getting sidelined and feeling, you just explained that and it's hard to see other people training, you not being able to. Do you feel like that hunger is just going to get more and more, that you're just going to take over 2016 and become a better Aspyn Rose?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Like, let that, I mean, and I don't know, I'm not trying to get in this counseling mode or whatever, but like, let that be that fire in your passion where you just come out the first match in and take over and say, this is it. Like, I'm taking my game to the next level. I'm not looking back.
Yeah.
So we're coming down to the end of the podcast, and it's just for me, like, I talk about this quite often. Is like, it's cool to you if I had a WWE wrestler on my show, if I had one of the top indie guys on my show, but like, it's something about being able to talk to somebody that's young in the business, hungry for the business, because we're having this conversation now. Let's say a year or 2 years from now. It's very exciting for me to see where you go, where you progress, and then we can always look back to this episode and say, wow, look how far you've come. So, like, thank you once again for coming on this podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I've had a good time.
For sure. So, what does the future look like for Aspyn Rose? Like, what do you expect yourself to do in 2016? I know we're talking about taking over, but what do you want out of your career in this next year and going forward?
I definitely just want to have as many matches as I can, and I want to travel as much as I can. Because even though I've been sidelined right now, I've still been going to as many shows as I can and traveling as much as I can to still keep my name out there. Because regardless of me not wrestling, I don't want people... Because wrestling is always constantly changing. There's always people going in and out of this business. And I don't want people to forget about me. So I'm always making sure that I'm being seen or heard somewhere, so that you know that I'm always around.
That's a great way of thinking of all of it. I forgot to touch on something. I heard, and I do my research. You have this real love for Japanese wrestling.
Yes, I do.
What got you interested in Japanese wrestling, especially just becoming a wrestling fan in 2009?
Let's see. I think because right now, obviously, like with wrestling and having the internet is such like a driving force behind wrestling right now. So many people around the world are getting noticed on a higher level. And when I was just watching wrestling before I even started training, I was always constantly searching wrestling on YouTube and everything I could. And I just stumbled across some Japanese wrestling. And it was all of the Joshi women over there. And it was something that immediately drew me in, because even though, like, you see them and they look super cute and adorable, but then you see them in that ring and they go harder than I've ever seen I see a lot of people go. And that's how I want to be. I don't want people to just see me and think that I can't do it. And then when they see me get in the ring, then I blow their minds. And so Japanese wrestling is definitely one of my favorites. I watch a lot of it. It's like New Japan, Stardom. I watch a lot of it, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. That's just great, great stuff to study and research. And I think if you stay as hungry as you are and what I hear, you might be able to have that singles match in Corkin Hall. Wink, wink.
Oh God, I would. That's the dream. I know a lot of people when they start wrestling, their dream is to get signed by WWE and all this stuff. And of course, I want that. I mean, I'd be crazy not to, but I want to be able. My number one goal right now is I want to be able to wrestle in Japan, and I want to wrestle in Corkin Hall. That's like my top priority right now.
And I think you could happen. All you need is that hunger and passion to make things happen. And I think you have that. For fans,
thank you.
You're very welcome. For the fans out there that are listening right now, where can they find you? Where can they find your matches? Where can they find you on social media? Where can they find the mermaid? Because I had to go under the sea. I hope they don't all have to swim down there.
Well, you might be able to find some matches on YouTube. I don't know what's out there, but I am on Twitter and Instagram at Aspyn the Mermaid. And so you can stay tuned on Twitter and Instagram for where I'll be next.
There you go, listeners. Go check out my girl Aspyn Rose. She's definitely the future of not just women's wrestling, just pro wrestling in general. So thank you once again for joining me on the show.
Oh, thank you.